Still with me in the studio are Professor Anthony Kila, a Jean Monnet Professor of Strategy and Development and Institute Director at Commonwealth Institute of Advanced and Professional Studies. Jide Ologun, Legal Practitioner, National Development Advocate and Fellow, Institute of Leadership, Coaching and Strategy. And Nopeyemi Adamolekun, Human Rights Activist and immediate past Executive Director, Enough is Enough. All right, good to have you in the studio, ladies and gentlemen.
Sure. Thank you.
I mean, there have been key important issues, 3 guests that I've had so far. The issues of the incessant grid collapse. And I've had with me Dr. Idowu Oyebanjo, who spoke at length about why, if we're not careful, the issue of national grid collapse might continue. Of course, he did use the example of Abia, where the governor is saying that Abia State is totally, off the grid, and that they're about to start a roller coaster, that will be good for Abians in general and, of course, businesses around there. Of course, Dr. Ibanjo was able to say, well, you should also be careful as to, overtalk. When it comes to we're off the grid, we're ready to roll. But his challenge essentially was to other governors who he thinks should have taken advantage of the National Electricity Act that basically allows states, to generate their own. Given what the president tried to do while he was governor in Lagos State, the Enron thing, the island electricity project, all those things that, you think that, Lagos, should be thinking as Tinubu was thinking in those days. There were 2 other guests. I also had Mr. Tony Akiosho, is a publisher, oil and gas person, geologist, has been here, a number of times, who spoke about the executive order by the president, basically saying that, no, all the remissions, all the 30% here, 20% there, everything should go to the Federation account. But of course, people are saying that, isn't this an affront on the PIA, given that it's a product of law, and an NPCL, if you're going to have to stop them, even with the best of intentions, it will be important to do all that properly, procedures and processes. Tony Akiosho spoke about, of course, that Pengasen is also saying, hey, no, President, go back on your talk. We need an NPCL to keep such monies because of oil exploration. I mean, there's 1,001 reasons why the PIA has given it that thing. But, Akiosho calls it, a finger snapping. And that's not what you should be doing if you need investors to come. And of course, lastly, I'm sure you catch a bit of that. Awa Musa Rafsanjani basically looking at what happened yesterday in Rivers and in Kano, where we had elections to fill in, by-elections to fill in spaces in the State House Assembly. And of course, the big one in Abuja, where 6 area councils were decided. We saw that Minister Wike declaring a work-free day on the eve of election and then asking people to stay at home, even though they ought to, to go and vote. What did we get in Abuja? Results are trickling in, they're making declarations. But then it's less than 10% of voter turnout. Voter apathy at its highest. Is this an indication of what we will get in the off-season elections that are coming later this year in Ekiti, in Osun State? And of course, the big ones, which we call almost rapidly, given the fact that INEC will soon roll out the new timetable. People are projecting that it will be January now for the 2 elections rather than February and March, so as not to conflict with Ramadan. But this is here we are. These are the top issues. And of course, your discussions will be, as always, very valuable. Who should we start with? The lady in the house?
Oh.
No, the Mama 50.
I can see that this lady's first thing is said to be selective when it's
She's pointing at the prof. No. Okay. All right, prof. The ball is in your court.
Well, I think so. There are three major issues, 3.5.
3.5. What's the half one?
But we shall see the other now. So we have elections.
Yes.
We have the national grid and electricity in general.
That's correct.
Then we have the petroleum executive order, not the PIA.
And PIA.
Well, some people will call it an assault on the PIA. I think that's the undertone that people are there, an assault on the PIA. I think is a populist move. What
the president has done.
What the president has done. I think it's a populist move. I think it looks good to the populists to say, I won't let the money be scattered. Let them submit everything. It's kind of Buhari's kind of thing. Let them, that was the kind of posture Buhari did when he did the TSA account. Let them, there are too many leakages here. Why is this money going left or right? Let everything come in. I think it is debatable. I think there's some merits to it. I say this because, I don't know, I might be odd. While everybody was praising the PIA Act, I wasn't one of those people.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, okay, you were. I trust Steve to remember those kind of things. Those kind of people who embraced it totally. I had my reservation. But again, let me express another reservation I have now. And this is this. I think that the president, rather than going for this kind of knee-jerk reaction thing, should have articulated his position on his own reservation on the PIA and say, given that A, B, C, D, this is why we've decided to do E, F, G. I think that would make more sense so that reasonable people or thinking people can equally see why he's doing it. At the moment, this move seems to be catching headlines. I'll tell you what will make it more attractive in a popular way. This day of today carries a headline that they didn't use the word probe, but they're going to look at past remission. I mean, probe is there.
There'll be an audit of the.
There'll be an audit of it. You see,
probe past revenue collection.
Exactly.
Yes, those are the kind of thing people like. It's a popular thing. So to that extent, the president is playing to the popular base. You must decode what is going on.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to go far with it unless the other people are able to make a case for it. For the issue of the electricity thing, I mean, clearly there's something wrong with us because no matter what you think of government, I continue to tell people I criticize government a lot, but I can assure you that nobody sits in government thinking, let me think of how to make life bad for Nigerians. It just happens. It's either competence or indolence that allows us to get in a situation where we have this national grid program. I remember some years ago, the first time I came across this national grid thing, mentally, I actually imagined there was something like some grills falling down. Some kind of rail or wire walks, but I realized it wasn't like that.
The collapse, right?
There was a collapse. Imagine that, that something fell down. And but the fact that this thing has happened to us more than once is a worrisome thing because by now, we should have said never again after it's happened once. That is the structural problem we have in this country. Be it electricity, security, health, or education. We have issues that return, which, it's counterintuitive for the essence of Homo sapiens. The whole essence of a rational person and a rational body, i.e. government. I can have a problem at home. You do something and you make the mistake again. It's not good, but it's understandable. But an organ like the government should not have that issue. Once it happens, people should study it, understand how we got there, what others are doing, and why it should not happen again. It's a structural problem. Another structural problem we have is the problem of progress. In this country, bad things tend to spread. Good things don't spread. After the Abia example, state governors should have been thinking how to outdo Abia by now. That's the whole essence of competitive collaboration. Competitive communism is called, you know, where you look at what other people and you try to do. And I really want to say this, looking directly at state governors and say, really shame on all of you, the rest 35 of you. You're indolent, you're unimaginative, and you are not creative on these specific issues. I tell you who's worse, the governors of Lagos State. This Lagos State, where the idea started, Aaron, the IPA. It must be said, you know, I'm a known critic of Bola Tinubu, but the fact that Tinubu as governor had that idea of saying, let us get ourselves off it.
Which he was not allowed to.
Which was not allowed to
by
do.
the federal government at that time.
But now that is doable.
He signed it into law.
Now that is doable, Lagos should be at the forefront of it. You know, we should be racing towards this thing. The fact that it's not happening that way is telling, and we need to pay attention to such errors. That's a big thing. Elections. another unpopular thing about me, I'm not a big fan of big electoral participation. I'm not even a fan of universal adult suffrage, let's face it. If I had my way, I wouldn't allow everybody to vote. But even, I think the editor again, one editor of this, they won't call me a reactionary on this matter. Reactionary as I might be, even I am worried that less than 10% of the voting population is voting. And we need to look at why. Why I call out in some wiki directly on this one. It's a part of the body language of rulers that make people feel that their vote will not matter. That is a major reason. But I want people, Nigerians, because Steve, I don't really ask us, is this what to expect for the future? I want Nigerians to know that it is wrong if you're allowed to be intimidated and coward to stay at home. The right answer for somebody who wants to generate apathy is actually to be engaged. I think it is wrong to let this go down. People should. But again, the other political leaders, they've not done well. They haven't been able to, what's the expression for getting people mobilized? They've not been able to mobilize voters. So in a way, this is a competence issue. Malice or mischief on behalf of those who render people apathetic, but indolence and incompetence on behalf of those who should have mobilized them out.
The opposition.
Especially. And anybody who has interest in it, you know, because that, you're never sure. Results are coming in. In theory, you don't know if that 7-8% are your own or not. Well,
Mr. Ologun,
thank you very much. You know, let's start with electricity.
Yes.
I think by now we should have gotten it right, you know, picking it from the historical perspective that the first experiment with energy in Nigeria dates back to about 1896. Okay. You know, with Lagos in particular being the platform. And by now, I think we should have perfected it. And Dr. Oyebanjo mentioned the 3 canons that are prominent in the transformation of Singapore. I read the 10 magics. You talk about meritocracy. Correct. You talk about pragmatism, which is engaging your problems at the practical level. Then you talk about honesty. Do we have those things on the table? The answer is no. We talk about national grid collapsing. You talk about aging infrastructure. This Singapore rolled out in 1965 when the community left Malaysia. And Lee Kuan Yew had a vision, and he achieved it before he died. That today Singapore is one of the fastest growing economies and the best place to work and live, because the socio-economic importance of this infrastructural development, was prominent for him. But here we are. Do we know the advantage? I read recently that even Aso Villa is going off grid.
I was going to ask you
to solar energy, and I said, so if the real papa is running away, then we have a systemic inefficiency in the country. I mean, we can no longer begin
there's
to...
There's a context in which we can even also look at what is happening in Aso Rock.
Exactly.
Going off-grid and going to solar.
Exactly.
But the president said, if I do not give you electricity...
Don't re-elect me.
Exactly. So you talk about...
You think he's not going to vote for himself?
Maybe he will give electricity before.
Maybe he'll give you electricity before. Okay, that's the way to look
so
at it.
the supply-demand imbalances, the corruption. We've read the $16 million, this one and that, the Mambila projects and all this. We need to sit up and look at the fact that we have all the energy mix to prosper Nigerians. If we look at it from that angle, and I have argued at a time that, okay, can we also say that generators and solar electrification are not allowed in state houses? So let the governors be exposed to what the citizens are exposed to, what the business community.
Who will make that law?
Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended states clearly that the National Assembly is empowered to make laws for the peace, orderliness, and good government in Nigeria.
Yeah, so you want them to sleep in darkness?
If they have to, that is the concept of justice, fairness.
Silk tight like Steve Ayode's own.
Section 1 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended says that all institutions and personalities are subject to the laws of the land.
If you have to use your logic, Mr. Ologun, there are many other areas that we have to apply that to. Education, health. Don't take your kids. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even the automobiles that elected officers use.
That is the ideal society of justice.
Yeah.
It's happening in Norway.
I don't mind it. I wish it could happen. But then who will galvanize it?
Driving the advocacy.
You to that one day.
No, I'm not. Go ahead.
In Norway, there is a sovereign wealth. Norway has the largest sovereign wealth in the world.
Yeah.
Because the oil...
He ain't more than the oil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have one as well.
And they are not wasting it. They are not
We have
wasting
our own
it.
version of it. Yeah.
You see, so we just need to get serious. It's embarrassing. You know, Nigeria, wake up. And I like the fact that he also shifted the focus of the citizens from the national to the state level.
Absolutely.
I'm still under the, I don't want to call it shock, the reality that the fuel subsidy that was gone,
That was set to be
that
gone.
the revenue has been diverted to governors. Governors, please develop your states. Develop potentials, create the enabling environment. We are all in this system. You leave office one day, and I say that politely. So you join us. So encourage economic empowerment within your communities. What IPI is doing is fantastic. You know, let other states roll in. And that brings us to NNPC Limited. Like Professor Kila, I was not enthusiastic when the Petroleum Industry Bill was signed into law. And
I thought the old country was, like
I wasn't.
agog.
I wasn't.
Really?
And I had my reasons. And here we are.
Okay.
NNPC was established on the 1st of April, 1977. The same 1977, about $2.8 billion disappeared from the NNPC account. So if you look at the vision and mission statement of NNPC, by now, Nigeria should be the third richest country in the world because of the huge, the resources God has given us. But what do we have? $100 million to turn around moribund refineries. You read different kinds of stories and everything. And now the argument of the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces is that, okay, let's stop deducting this thing. Whether it's 30% maintenance fees or the 20% profit already retained.
Yes.
I mean, that is 50% gone already. Is it wealth for the citizens or wealth for the stakeholders within the NNPC space?
Well, the argument was that the PIA thing was modeled, that aspect of it was modeled after Saudi Aramco. And that's how
but Saudi Aramco is not performing like Nigeria is performing. We have laws in this country that are not implemented.
But also there's the issue of you have the ideal of what the bill is. And as we saw with the recent tax one, what is the ideal and what gets passed can sometimes be different. So.
Correct.
And right now, again, let's go procedural. The concept of executive order was prompted in the United States of America. And the president then needed the ministers, those in charge, to come and give a report to the people how you have performed in office.
Yeah.
But for us in Africa, it has become an order. This must be done. I also agree.
Also on that Trump.
If we have, if we have,
I think it's the breeze of the moment across the world.
Yes. So if we have the law, the Petroleum Industry Act, and you are not satisfied with some of the provisions, why do we have the 109 senators, the 360 House of Reps member? They just amended the Electoral Act.
So call for an
forward it to them. That my people, I'm not comfortable with
and
this.
they're truly his people. Hallelujah.
Exactly.
Truly his people.
That I'm not comfortable with
All
this.
not intended.
Yes.
Very intended.
What can we do here? So, and that is the aspect, again, I want the government to look into. Because that is on the value chain of the rule of law. Procedures are important. And that brings us to the recent election.
Just yesterday.
Yeah, it's recent. And I read that the federal minister was addressing his supporters that you just go and vote.
Of the FCT.
Leave
the rest
to me. And I think it's an indictment on the credibility. You see, credibility as a word makes reference to trust. can you trust the process? And that's why we are now talking about apathy. In public relations, you talk about the Frank Jeffkins transfer process. You talk about hostility, that you turn to sympathy, apathy to interest. Then you talk about, ignorance to knowledge. You see, this apathy, unless you begin to make the citizens respect the processes, the credibility of the electoral engagement, they'll stay away. And again, there is no law, which is another gap in our legal framework. There is no law that says if only 2% of the registered voters come out to vote, that the results are counted. So we still have a lot to do. But beyond all this,
you want a minimum number, like the form quorum.
Exactly. And now
do we have that?
Almost all the political offenses.
We have compulsory voting. I'm not sure that we have a minimum percentage.
Threshold. Well, for referendum, you have in some countries.
Yeah, for referendum.
For instance, now, reportedly, there were electoral offenses, vote buying and all those things. So when do we wake up? But I came up with an agenda which is very crucial to me now. No, even if today INEC comes to say, oh, National Assembly, let's now transmit real time. We will not solve the problems in the political space. The dividends are too high for politicians. When senators begin to earn the same salary as professors in the university, we will begin to have clean, transparent, free and fair and credible electoral processes.
Senators earning the same as prof?
Exactly.
Or profs earning the same as
senators. Earn the same, like 550,000 naira per month, or the same as resident doctors. You know what I'm talking about? So we now have
I get you clearly.
Exactly. But otherwise, we will not, even live transmission will not solve the problems because they will decide other ways.
Transmission first. And let's get to one before we go.
So these are issues.
All right, I get
these are issues.
Absolutely. So we can't sugarcoat them. We can't run away from those issues. And look, baby, those are your thoughts too?
No, well, some of them. So you started with saying that you don't think people in government sit in a room and decide how do we make life difficult for Nigerians.
Yes.
Well, maybe not as a conscious thought. But as Jide writes in today's Disney, he says, people don't matter anymore. Let's dissolve them instead. So it might not be a conscious thought of, let me make life difficult. But if you then don't care about them, you inadvertently are saying that. Like if Nigeria and Nigerians, the country and its people, are not your priority when you're formulating policy or trying to implement whatever it is, you are inadvertently doing that. Maybe not actively thinking it, but that's what you're doing.
No, you just want to paint them bad.
I'm not painting them bad. Anyway, but, I'm not saying, I started with quoting Jide. Exactly. So it's not me, I'm using his words. But the truth of the matter is, the Constitution is also very clear. The security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government.
You're very right.
So if people are not safe and people are not empowered, then you're failing. So can we use that?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right, we'll leave it.
Incompetence, yes.
Can I put what Prof said in another context? Sure. Maybe, the way they say it in that territory. Politicians or people, officers, might not have performed effectively well, but they meant well.
They meant well, yes. That's the thing.
But that's even that. I even disagree.
He disagree.
This one showing that they don't even show that. They don't even try.
They don't try to mean well.
You think that there's mean mentality?
Yes. No, not caring.
They don't care. So if you don't care about someone,
which is a terrible case.
Yeah.
They're not considering them.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not that they are planning and scheming evil. But they just don't care.
And so if they're not
caring, then I get hurt and you don't care.
You don't care.
People get bitten by snakes, they don't care. Our hospitals don't have medicine, we don't care. As children are sitting on floor to read, we don't care. So
our politicians are those people in Lagos where, because they come in to clean your road, they don't care if they block the traffic. They think we're cleaning the road, so it doesn't matter what the people are doing.
We're working hard.
Yes.
Now, on the issue around, and this then ties to this point around your point again about sort of populist actions by the president. So let's go to LG autonomy as number one. So again, that one, a lot of excitement because local governments will get their money. But he inadvertently, or the Supreme Court allowed them to inadvertently subvert the Constitution, number one. Number two, we go to the Electoral Act. That one as well, just recently, we decided we want to put a clause to legalize glitches.
Yeah.
So that one is there, and we passed it in less than 24 hours. And then this one about...
It's a caveat.
No, it's not a caveat. No, it's not a caveat. The thing, I can read it to you before we finish. The thing basically says if the thing fails, it's okay. So all it needs to do is fail. Okay. And then lastly, this executive order. And it's an interesting point around how executive orders are used.
Yes.
Especially with the fact that the legislative arm is not opposed to the executive.
Yeah, exactly.
If you actually explain what he wants to do and how he wants to do, he will get it done.
Overnight.
Precisely. We'll sign it again in less than 24 hours.
And there goes my people thing.
Exactly. So for me, I then wonder why they need to posture. Why they need to posture with an executive order when you can actually amend the bill properly. Except the fact that we're going into elections. And we might need to get this money quickly. So if we do the work of amending the PIA, it might just take time. And it's already February. Elections are less than a year.
Yeah.
So if we do executive order, can rearrange the thing quickly and the money will be flowing. That's my theory, Sha. I'm not saying.
Mr. President, you have credibility issues.
Of course, without
because otherwise nobody would think this.
But will it be illegal though? No. The executive order, if it is challenged in court?
Yes, you can challenge it. You can challenge it in court. Yes, you can challenge it.
And you can also see Pegasan already. I mean, Pegasan again of the same has lost its own credibility over the years. Yes, so even though it's saying, I don't know how many people are paying attention.
And that's why the government is saying, okay, we look into your books too.
Yeah, exactly.
How you manage your resources.
Might as well audit everybody.
Absolutely.
So it's an interesting one, the timing of, and it's not small money. It's not small money.
So Toya Kesho, mentioned about it, and it says if you're talking naira, you'll be talking trillions.
So and there's money to be spent. There's elections. All right. So if we go then to energy, now what I think is interesting is also this context around. This administration has shown repeatedly that it doesn't really care much for optics and comms. There's nothing wrong around going off grid. We're talking about the energy mix. So we have capacity for wind, we have sun, we have capacity for solar. Exactly. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that within the context of the fact that you're talking about the country. You're not just talking about, in my household, where the rest of you figure it out how you want to organize yourself. But if it was announced as part of a government policy of understanding the power of green energy, this is what we're doing here, this is what we're doing here. As a pilot, even the Aso Rock is going off grid, and you can sell it as part of a national policy on green energy, and this is what we're trying to do. But no, we're just going to announce that we're going off grid. All of you.
Is it the problem that you now do that? Okay. If you do the right thing that you say, it will require you to now say, this is what we're now doing for 1 million households.
So you have to think.
And that's the problem.
But in fairness, he said the energy essay
and communicate it properly.
In fairness, he said the energy essay, Ologun, it is showing, he's thinking, and you can tell some thoughts in her own department. So it's not that we don't have the capacity to think. Again, it's the willingness to think for citizens.
Okay,
What was the last thing I was going to... No, land on. So that's that on energy.
The election?
And then the elections, I think they've pretty much said...
Okay, very well. Okay, so let's go to another story so that we can talk more on all of this. The United States has imposed sanctions on 8 Nigerians over alleged ties to terrorist organizations, including Boko Haram and the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, as well as cybercrime-related offenses. The sanctions were announced in a February 10 publication by the United States Department of the Treasury through its Office of Foreign Assets Control. The action was contained in a 3,000-page update of the specially designated nationals and blocked persons list, a reference document detailing individuals and entities subject to U.S. sanctions. According to OFAC, the list provides formal notice of persons whose property and interest in property are blocked under U.S. law as part of counterterrorism and other sanctions programs. So here we have the United States
The United States headmaster of the world, house teacher of Nigeria.
And Robocop. The global Robocop.
You see, we look at this and the United States does their own, quote unquote madness. But the key shameful thing that we should be aware of are two things. One, how vulnerable Nigerian politicians are to United States sanction. Because they're so dependent on it.
Absolutely.
That is optics is shameful. But there's a legal side to it. In this country, there's a law that says if you hold public office, you are not allowed to have foreign assets. I know, please don't ask me details. I know because of the time when it was mentioned that I was supposed to run for one office. One of the first problems I thought I was going to have was the issue of how much foreign assets and national assets. And the people told me, don't worry, nobody pays attention to it. So we saw blatantly, in theory, the way the Nigerian system, constitution, electorate, and what's the ICPC people, a public administration thing, the way it's set up, we seem to forget that sanctions should not affect Nigerian politicians because they ought not to be having assets there. But apparently, they not only have investments, they have education, they have health. So they're in real trouble. So if America is the headmaster of the world, is a direct house, for those who went to boarding school, is a house master of Nigerian politicians. And, shame on all of us for finding ourselves in such a situation. Without even going to the security issue, I stop.
Ologun.
I qualify the shame on those who are so greedy that they corner our commonwealth and go and position this wealth in foreign nations. And that is where I agree with Prof. They may have to start paying for this. There was a time Shure was being harassed by somebody and he harassed back that I've petitioned the US on the properties and that story died. What is our problem?
It wasn't a wicked. It was wicked enough.
Let's call it.
You mentioned it. You just said it.
It's in the public domain, so I don't know why we're dancing around.
You know why I'm not so surprised?
Wiki, he won't mind. He's used to being mentioned.
You know why I'm not so bothered?
Yeah.
I have not still recovered that in the last tenure under former President Muhammadu Buhari, the federal minister, Lai Mohammed, came out to say the government has recognized over 400 sponsors
identified
of Boko Haram in Nigeria, a country of 36 states.
And that the list was going to come out.
Exactly. Till today. It was in Dubai. Dubai that is not a direct victim, not even victim in any sense, but saying you cannot use our community as a base for sponsoring terrorism. Arrested 6, prosecuted them, and jailed all of them and published their identities.
Correct.
You see, and even gave us intelligence report on how to trace their network in Nigeria. What have we done?
What did we do?
You see, so now it's America. Even after coming to bomb part of South, so I am still of the opinion that it's either these sponsors of terrorism are super active more than the state, or I don't understand, or there is a covenant or whatever. Because I have argued that if you don't take out the oxygen, you cannot take out the fire. If you don't deal with sponsorship, you cannot deal with terrorism in
because
Nigeria.
The question that people have been asking is, if Dubai, UAE is saying, this is what we know, this is what we've done, and they shared intelligence, America is doing the same. What is the Nigerian government doing about those that have been identified?
Nothing.
That's a big question.
It's very simple. And I think sometimes, which goes back to this hour, they're not sitting to
make life bad. But they're making it bad.
And it's really very simple. Again, we go back to the provision of the Constitution. The security and the welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. So as you rightly said, you have two sovereign nations who have identified people in your country. Nigeria itself, both under Goodluck Jonathan and under Buhari, said they knew who were the sponsors of Boko Haram. But yet we did nothing. It's not rocket science. If the state says they know people who are sponsoring violence, crime, and insecurity, but then choose not to do anything, you can take it to the bank that they're part of the state. And so what are we talking about?
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
I don't know.
All right, let's take another story. U.S. civil rights icon Jesse Jackson has died at age 84. His family said Tuesday, marking the passing of one of the most influential figures in America's fight for racial and social justice. Jackson, a Baptist minister and key associate of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., rose to national prominence during the civil rights movement and went on to twice seek the Democratic presidential nomination in the 1980s, breaking barriers for black candidates in the U.S. politics. The Jackson family described him as a servant leader to the oppressed and voiceless around the world. Over more than 5 decades, he founded and led organizations such as Operation Push and the Rainbow Push Coalition, advocating for economic empowerment, voting rights and equality. Jackson's legacy includes inspiring generations of activists and shaping debates on civil rights, economic justice, and political inclusion in the United States. I mean, God bless his soul, Jesse Jackson, Reverend. He may have been president, but I recall, I said it yesterday at the program, on the morning show. I recall the tears that he shared, when Obama, won. It must have been.
I met Jesse Jackson about over 30 years ago or something like that in England. And I left the room thinking, it's too American for me. Because the whole speech, the whole thing was there was kind of American vibe. And you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yesterday, I just submitted an essay actually this morning for this week that will be coming out. And the reflection I make about him is that actually he has a lot of lessons for the world, especially for Africa.
Yeah.
Universal, but Africa can, because I wrote it from Lagos, so I was looking at it from an African perspective. And I think the key thing about Jesse Jackson is the hope that people like Jesse Jackson gives to people is a disciplined hope, not feeling.
Yeah.
It's a structured hope that understands that hope must be structured, must be activated, must be embodied, and must be pursued. It's not a flimsy thing. And I think a lot of people make that error. Clergyman that stood on the pulpit, quoted the Bible, but he followed action. He wasn't perfect, but he knew black and white. He could say this is right, this is wrong. His language was not kind of economical, that you could not say, all my people be good. He knew who was bad and who was good. And I think from our clerics to our citizens, there's a lot of lessons to learn about disciplined, structured hope.
Yeah, from his life and time.
Yes.
Absolutely. Dr. Ologun, you agree, I'm sure?
So, adieu to a great icon. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream, and Jesse Jackson ran with the dream, handed the baton over to Obama. Whoa. And Obama crystallized the dream.
Not quite in that form, but we get you.
Exactly. So I'm talking about empowering people and creating the possibility mentality.
Yeah.
And we were in the same room. I was in the same room with him when Governor Babatunde Fashola was in Lagos. There was this economic summit. Okay. It was a wonderful experience for me, So, and you have people who consistently pursued a purpose and brought hope and courage to many. And like we say, he slept the stage, but the legacy is there. So all the good he has done, we live after him, and he has played his own role. So for those of us who are remaining, you need to ask yourself, what purpose are you living for?
Mr. Trump celebrated him too, by the way. They were friends at a point, so I had to put that in because
except that Trump now said he's a street smart person.
He celebrated himself while trying to celebrate Reverend
Trump celebrated.
At least, anyway. But yeah, indeed, and condolences to the family. I think, and to your point, and I love the way you framed it around a disciplined hope. That it wasn't just hope, because as a clergy person, you could just have been doing pulpit hope, and just trying to charge people up and
as they tell us to pray for bad roads in Nigeria.
But I think as MLK, as with him as well, it wasn't just around faith, but it was faith with works.
Yes.
And not just works as well around African Americans in the US, but global. Yeah. He saw himself as a global citizen.
Absolutely.
Came to the continent a number of times, came to Nigeria a number of times, and I met him one of the times he was here. Got himself involved in negotiating with the release of prisoners. So he saw himself really as a statesman, even without the age
the real leader without title.
Exactly. And but I think that for me, and that that your structured hope is really quite apt, especially for a country like Nigeria. Or the continent generally.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
as we strive for better, as we're pushing for better, and for those who are religious, as we're trusting God and praying, there's work to be done. And we must do that work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, on that note, I want to thank you all. Mr. Jide Ologun, Prof. Anthony Kila. Thank you all so much. You've been watching This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on Arise News. I'm Steve Ayorinde from my entire team, and I in Lagos is bye for now. And thanks very much for watching.